Hello, loves. Hello, and welcome back. I'm so happy to be here. As per the usual, look at us go. We've been live every Friday, like twice. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and recap what we talked about last week because we'll be waiting for people to hop on. And I will do that instead of telling you guys how I didn't sleep last night because the cat was having a little too much fun. Okay, so instead of going on about that, we'll talk about last week and do a recap while people are hopping on. So we talked about the private jet girls with the champagne and whether or not we truly can relate to those girls. Now I'm just going to go ahead and say it. There was one in particular of the private jet girls who came out with a program centered around mothers, and she went on to a story, I think it was, and maybe I was triggered, maybe, but she was saying, why would you just choose to struggle? Why would you choose not to be in charge of your time? Why would you choose to like go to work and then come home and hustle and like, why choose that lifestyle? And I was like, girl, if you're trying to resonate with hustle moms, like, don't ask them why they're in that situation. Like, how can we resonate with somebody who's so out of touch? You know what I'm saying? So my goal is to continue to show up for you guys in a sense that's like, this is the perspective of the mistakes that I've made. This is the perspective of where I have been, what I've been doing, how I show up, and why I show up the way that I do. Does it work? Not all the time, you know? And so I'm coming to you guys from a perspective of, here's kind of what I wish would happen. Hold on, this might be loud. It's driving me nuts. I want to be face forward, the camera. Okay. Anyways, we talked about the private jet girls, whether or not we can relate to them. For me, I realized that I don't. Maybe I wanted to, but I don't. Because my end goal doesn't look like gold jewelry and champagne. My end goal looks like dirt and forest and horses and a country home, which you guys commented and you guys feel the same. It's like we want a slower lifestyle. We want a lifestyle of living life like a Sunday stroll, right? So how can our branding reflect where we are now, but also the end goal? That is kind of the in-between place that we're going to talk about today. So thank you guys for your comments because it gives me ideas of what to post about and what to talk about today. So again, branding is your lifestyle. It's just your lifestyle expressed online. So how do we do that? We'll talk about that today. But again, last week we talked about how fitting into a mold is hurting us, right? Even though we can say the words, sometimes it isn't enough to just say the words. Sometimes we have to realize that we're pushing ourselves to be in that mold until we are no longer us and no longer authentic, right? And we hear that word a lot, like be authentic online. It's like, obviously, but I'm surrounded by these private jet girls and they've got it going on and they're launching programs that are geared towards me, and me being their ideal client, they're kind of saying like, don't struggle, just decide that it's going to be okay, and then show up more empowered, just show up bigger, show up more powerful. So another thing we might be telling ourselves all the time is this idea of like, what's wrong with me? Something is wrong with me. Why am I playing small? How is it that I can get out of this mold that I put myself in? Especially if you guys are feeling like you don't post, you don't want to post. Like for me, going live on a live video, fine, I will do that all day. All day I'll be on a live video. But ask me to share a post to my personal profile? No, we're going to need to think about that for a few months before we do that. Why? I don't know. I don't know why I'm like this. And some people, most people I feel, will post on their profile all day long, but to do a live video, like, And this is why, because you end up having to clear your throat the whole time, and it's embarrassing. So I get it. But we're going to talk about that. This frustrating in-between place, okay? We also talked about how rock bottom brings the same kind of freedom as having the millions, okay? And we don't usually correlate it like that, but being flat on the floor, feeling like, okay, nothing truly matters. I'm, as good as kinked off at the neck here. And then you kind of like have this awakening experience where you're like, oh, I could get up off of this floor and go do whatever I want because at least I'm alive. Same feeling as I have all the money already. I'm bored. I don't know what I want to do with my life. Maybe I'll just do something awesome and have fun with it, right? It's the same feeling, but we can get to it from the shadow or we can get to it from the abundance. Does that make sense? Okay, so what I wanted to talk as well about is like, look at what you already have and your zone of genius. So for me, I have a no-brainer offer, and that's what I want you guys to be thinking about, is the no-brainer offer. For me, that's my readings. I know without a shadow of a doubt that my readings are fire. You guys see that viral audio that was like, I don't know, 4 years ago? It was like, some days I am just on fire. And I'm like, I did that reel while I was doing a reading, because it's like sometimes they just sing out loud and I'm just here with my mouth open and they just are happening for me. So what is it that you already have in your zone of genius that you know works, given that you move through it and push yourself enough to get it out there, right? So for me, that's my readings and live videos. I know I can do live videos all day. So here I am getting back in business, get online. Instead of making posts like everybody's telling me to make posts, I'm gonna just go ahead and get on a live stream, okay? So look at what you already have, look at what you've got. What is your zone of genius, right? And if mine is my readings, then that's what I post about. I say readings are available. It was Valentine's Day. Hey, line up, let's get these readings going. And typically if I make a post about readings, I'm making about $300. That's just kind of the norm for me, which is great and awesome, but I need to push myself, right? Because we kind of need it to be unlimited, right? So I need to understand that I'm not unlimited in my offerings. I'm not unlimited in what I'm saying out loud. I'm not unlimited when it comes to being able to post. So my finances aren't going to show unlimited potential because I'm not expressing unlimitedness. Does that make sense? I'm projecting, or I'm putting out there my no-brainer offer that's this big, when my potential and what it is that I have to offer is like colossal. But posting about it gives me the ick. So somehow now we're in this in-between space where we have to burst up out of that. And this is what we call the glass ceiling, right? So we're going to talk about that today. Also, this feeling of like, okay, I'll just change it then. Like, okay, if I'm not showing up big enough, I guess I better change. If I'm not showing up empowered enough, I guess I better hurry up and change, right? What do we do about that? And is it happening in your subconscious without your knowledge? That's really the scary part, because what we talked about last week was I woke up one day, like recently, and realized that for the past, 7 years that I've been in business, my mindset has been willing to change and ebb and flow in order to cater to trends and what's going on in, other people's world. So there is this need for us to feel safe in order to show up and post what it is that we have to offer without feeling icky about it. So we're going to talk about that today. And then we also have this idea of like, I do what I want. Like at the end of the day, that is the energy that's going to get us there. I do what I want. The universe works for me. My schedule works for me. So again, if like we've got a lot of moms in here, if your mom life is go to work and hustle all day and come home and sit on a couch while the kids run around in circles, there's not much we can do about that, right? So what can we do? I know for me, I read cards, right? And that's a lot of how I was getting clients and a lot of how I was getting my messages out there and channeling online was cards. So I took my card decks with me in the car, because don't lie, I know you guys are this way too, because I am. When you don't feel like going home and there's somebody else at the house to see those kids, I was parking in parks. I was parking in empty parking lots. And I started to bring my cards, and instead of singing one-sided karaoke, which is what I was doing, I brought my cards and I got on YouTube and I was pulling cards in my car. And the two best results that I got on YouTube was me in my car, didn't want to go home because home is hard. And so I'm in my car right now hiding, but I'm going to pull some cards because that's what I like to do, right? That is what lands with the audience, if that is your target audience, right? So we're going to get into that today as well, because I do feel like many of us have already gone through the prompts of like, I am a XYZ who helps XYZ to XYZ have this transformation, right? I feel like most of us have already gone through that, and most of us have seen the prompts of how to niche down. We've seen I was going to say codes, but like the journal prompts, the programs that have been like niche down, know the color of your ideal client's underwear. Like we've seen those things, we get it. It's like, I know who I serve. The issue or the focus right now is knowing where my clients are so I can speak directly to them, right? And even if they're not my clients, they're my audience. So creating polls, what do we want to talk about? Going live every week at the same time and saying, hey, get involved, send me your questions and let's talk about it, right? Because going live is part of my genius. It's part of what I'm comfortable with. So why not just do that because I feel comfortable there? If your genius or your comfort zone is in making posts, okay, perfect. Maybe put on stories a little poll that says, I'm going to create a batch of content and it's going to be catered to what you, the viewer right now, wants to hear, needs to hear, is working through, right? Word it the way you want to, but there's something to be said about catered to you service. I'm happy to be here and I'm happy to talk about what you need to talk about because I want to help you wherever you are. You know what I mean? But it depends on you and who you are and how you want to show up. And so then we get into the mindset of like, it's time for you to be thinking, nobody does it like I can. Nobody does it like I do it. I can show up like this and talk about that and people want to buy from me, right? That's a mindset to adopt here. And when we're getting into mindset and permissions, that brings us to this whole idea of how bad do you want it? How dedicated are you to the cause, right? How dedicated are you to fulfilling your calling? Sorry, my nose is running. So again, it's like, how bad do you want it? How big is your mission in your world, right? And how much time can you dedicate to it? And if there is no time to dedicate to it, okay, how can we get your self-care routine, your schedule in a way to where you can have one day out of the week where you can dedicate 1 hour, right? And do something like this, whether it's make a post, so that one day out of the week, maybe Monday morning, as soon as people get to work, as soon as people get there, you have scheduled a post that says weekly review, like weekly guidance, channeled message, right? Again, it's like getting on here and brain dumping leads to these golden nuggets. I also began to record readings for YouTube so that every month each zodiac sign is going to get their own catered to them reading posted on the YouTube channel. So I'll share with you guys the playlist because each zodiac sign has a playlist of their own on my channel. Okay, so let's talk about this in-between space. I saw this teacher online and they had a whiteboard and they were talking about this space between not knowing and knowing. Doesn't matter what you're learning. You could be learning your math, right? But there's this space between not knowing what you're doing, being confused, frustrated, and hopefully diligent, but frustrated, right? And then we have knowing, which is like this goal of like, okay, I know what to do. I know where to post what I'm posting. I know that I'm going to do this every week. I know I'm going to do this, and this, and I think in business, that's something that we want, right? Is like the exact blueprint is what people call it, or the exact play by play. Like, tell me where to click and what to go through and how to do that step by step by step. But it's like there's so many options, right? I'm going to be using MemberVault. A lot of people use Kajabi. There's going to be Canva to do your reels on, but you can also edit them straight in the Instagram app by like clicking and dragging a bunch of little dots and stuff. Like, I've been watching a lot of that lately. It's possible. And CapCut and TikTok, CapCut is like an editing app on your phone where you can like layer up videos, and that's how people get videos to where they're like cloning themselves, right? And there's one of them like running around in circles right here, and one of them sitting on the couch right here, and then one of them right here. So basically that's making TikTok videos look like super awesome, right? So it's like, cool, give me a crash course on that, right? But Canva can do it too. Instagram can do it too, right? So there's so many avenues in this in-between place of like, I don't know what I'm doing, and okay, I'm gonna wake up, do my meditation, give myself some grub, drink some coffee, and then I'm going to go tackle this day, right? I'm assuming we're somewhere in between there. So the teacher was asking the students, what does resilience feel like? And there was a girl who confidently raised her hand, and she said, resilience is such a positive word when we're thinking about it in the past tense. Resilience is great. It's very positive, right? Awesome, hopeful, determination. Yeah, go get them. But being in resilience, not a positive experience. Persistence, not a positive experience, right? That actually resonates as frustration. And this is where we can get into like positive anxiety, feeling pushed and pushing ourselves, right, to prosper and to have resilience. It's an interesting play on words, because resilience is a positive word if it's in the past tense, but in the present tense, it's very uncomfortable. And it feels a lot like frustration. So what I want you guys to do as a mindset shift exercise is look at the places where you're frustrated. This is going to get me emotional. Look at the places that you're frustrated, because that is where you are the most resilient. Isn't that beautiful? I love it. I'm going to cry. Right? It's the act of being resilient that gives us the frustration. And we get to choose in that moment as well whether we give in to the frustration or we give in to the hope. Because the hope is what's pushing us forward. The resilience is the frustrating pushback of the persistence that we're having to kind of push through. Well, after we talked last week, there was a comment that said that this member is not getting the lifestyle nudges. So, look at the places where you're most frustrated. That's where you're being resilient. So, can we shift that frustration into hope, understanding that you're being determined, unwavering, and tap into that energy of, if this is frustrating, then I'm on a track that stretches me. Does that make sense? So the lifestyle nudges, otherwise known as vehicles, right? There's lots of vehicles that can get us to our end goal, right? So if that end goal is a country home, because that is also my goal, I began this journey. My business name is Mountain Medicine Jewelry Co. Fun fact. Never changed it. Don't care. Eventually I'll get a DBA, which is like operating under the name Mountain Medicine Coaching, but everywhere my business is Mountain Medicine Coaching. But when I file my taxes, it's a jewelry company. Make it make sense, right? because at the time I was working at a trading post and I saw all these gorgeous jewelry things coming out of the woodworks, right? Seeing it happen, and I was like, this is really great. So how could I do this for me? And then I saw the other girl that was working there. She did necklaces that looked like lace necklaces. And I was like, oh my God. So I started looking at bridal beadwork because that's the expensive part of the dress. So I started having all of this Pinterest boards of like all this stuff I wanted to do, and refurbishing furniture, right? I had all these avenues before I ever launched my business. And I was like, man, I just want something to work out. Like I was like, okay, I'm going to buy all the beads. I did that. I'm going to buy all of the needles and all of the thread and all of the things, the stretchy material, the big beads, the little beads. I downloaded all the patterns and printed those bitches out. I sure did. I have a notebook somewhere, and I have got a bead work cabinet somewhere because that was my vehicle. It was going to be, right? Turns out that's really time consuming, very frustrating. Sometimes you have to take the whole thing apart, right? And it just got to a point where it was no longer inspiring. It was no longer fun for me. So furniture flipping, fun, needs a lot of tools, needs a lot of space. House flipping, okay, that worked, but it was the worst experience of my life. Loved that. Hated it, right? But that came after. I guess my first house I was in when I launched my business. But, I tried working at a job and also on a side craft. But, there was just so much going on, so much chaos. But I was like fiending for these vehicles. I was like, something, take me out of here. And I'm like, grasping for some sort of new way, some sort of different way, right? So finally I found coaching, and it was one of my friends somehow or some way had shared a post. The tagline on it was how to scale your online business to 6 figures. That was the tagline of it. And that was the first time I saw I am a XYZ coach who helps XYZ client to achieve XYZ result. That was the first time. Okay, I'm just letting you all know. Since that time, that was 2017, every coach on the face of the planet is having you do that exercise. And it's like, we get it, we know, right? That's like getting on a live stream and saying the same 3 words every single time you see me. Like, just believe in yourself. Just have confidence. It's like, it's a Band-Aid for a big problem of like not knowing what to do, right? So it's like, I want to show up here and say every single week we talk about something else. You guys decide what we talk about, and we just have a good time on here, right? So anyways, I was grasping for vehicles. I was just like, furniture, help me. House renovations, help me. Uber Eats, help me. While I was doing office jobs, and those weren't working out either because it just was like such a mess, my God, right? So when I finally did find the coaching, I went ham. Like, I can talk about that. I understand what that is. Like, I get it, and I can speak on that, and I can lead people through a transformation. I know, because of what I've studied in these other theologies or these other methods of research, right? Enlightenment theories, I know what they're talking about here with mindset. I had already read a lot of Eckhart Tolle and Wayne Dyer. I had been working in trading posts and getting knowledge from that, being very careful with it, I will add, because people get very upset when you talk about anything when you have white skin. Anyway, so, I felt like I had already read cards just for fun. I had already worked at the trading post. I already went to the witchy stores. I already utilized smudging or seining. So I was looking for all these vehicles and finding all of this very constructive, very interesting stuff on the way, you know? So it's like you find a vehicle, you grasp it, you gravitate towards it, and then there's like this stopping point where we have to stop and look at, okay, maybe it's a mirror that we stop up against, and we have to look at it and say, okay, what in me is stopping myself right now? Maybe it's a roadblock, like other people having issues with you. Okay, you have to stop, look at that, and say, what's my workaround here? And that's where the frustrating issue comes in, because there are obstacles in the way just as much as there's the frustration and the resilience and the perseverance. There's also uncomfortable other external obstacles, for lack of a better word. But at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, how bad do I want it? Yes. And also understand that like this calling was given to you and you alone. Not you alone. We'll talk about that in a second. I talk about this a lot, but this highest timeline, this calling of yours was given to you as a gift, okay? And I talk about this a lot, but we'll say it again, I guess, where there was a time in my business after I launched it, after I decided, and that's another key piece too, I decided that coaching was going to be what worked for me. I decided that going online and speaking my truth and saying the things, I'm talking to myself right now because I told you already I don't want to make posts on my personal profile, but here I am, channeling for myself, right? I decided that showing up in that way was going to work, and it did, because I truly believed it and because it spoke to me in a way that the other things never could, right? Flipping furniture, love that. Sewing, maybe, I don't know, it didn't work for me. I just didn't want to, I don't know, didn't work, right? It's throwing spaghetti at the wall, right? We talked about that last week, like throwing spaghetti at the wall. Now I'm looking at my walls and my walls are all covered in spaghetti because I've been chucking stuff at it for so long. This pillow is driving me insane. I didn't clean my living room before getting on here. If I stay very still. Just kidding. Anyway, so you're given this calling, and the truth is that many of us have been given the same calling. Like I mentioned last week's video, we had a comment on there. It was somebody saying, I see a country house wraparound porch, and I'm like, yes, samesies, like me too, girl, you know, and a lot of people are having that same nudge. I want to be on a homestead. I want to be self-sufficient. And the reason for that is because if we all are on homesteads, we're watering the grass, we're feeding the animals, you know, and we can make the world green again in these small little micro homesteads or large scale homesteads, whatever. Right? So it's very important that we all live out that calling. But it's also important to note that if you don't, someone else will. And that's a hard pill to swallow, because if we sleep on our ideas, if we swallow that calling and we just push it down and we just do what is expected of us, right? Now we can get into some conspiracies if we really want to about suppressing the masses, right? And it's like giving in to that suppression or giving into the matrix, right? And that's a hard thing because we're born into it. We have to break free of it, right? So I think honestly, this common theme that I'm seeing, specifically in the readings I've been doing, like breaking free, and it always feels like a relationship. And so I lean towards that in all of my readings, but I'm kind of getting to the point where I really don't want it to be like a masculine and a feminine. I really don't. But it feels that way. Like it feels like a suppressed, oppressed wifey finally breaking free from her very abusive husband. I don't know. Okay, it's always been that way. In all of my general readings, it always feels just like that. And maybe, you know, maybe that is a common theme and a lot of women are just deciding 4B movement all the way, you know. Watch me get banned on here for saying that. But, you know, it's like not wanting to be under a thumb. And I really am trying to get out of the perspective of like a marriage and into the perspective of like, there's you and your creativity and your intuition, the feminine, And then there's the masculine where I'm going to do what I need to do. This is the structure. This is how I go to work. This is where I come home. This is da 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 da. So the feminine breaking free from the masculine, creating a new relationship that's more aligned, and the feminine and the masculine are combined and balanced equally, right? So that's my challenge right now on the YouTubes, is to get out of the thinking that it always has to be a relationship and get into the thinking that we have masculine mind, we have feminine mind, and they've been at odds because of the matrix. And so instead of like we're breaking free from the karmic, YouTube people will know what I'm talking about here, we are breaking free from the matrix and the negative mindset, because I don't know why I'm on this tangent, but we're going to go with it. In YouTube, there is a massive epidemic of this twin flame journey, okay? Again, masculine, feminine, right? Meant to be yin yang, fit together perfectly, puzzle piece. Again, get in the mindset of two sides of your brain. And there's this other woman. It's always the female, I don't know why, but it's the karmic. The karmic is the karmic relationship, somebody that maybe you stumble upon and you're with them for a while, but then it's less aligned, and then you break up and get back together. It's that toxic push and pull of constantly being in a relationship, even though it's not abundant for you. And then it's like this other, the feminine that I'm reading for, right, for sake of argument, would be looking at readings because she fell in love with this masculine. He's perfect for her, but he's attached to some other karmic, which is usually like an ex, right? Okay, take that whole story, set it aside. Now, compare that to the masculine and the feminine mind. The feminine mind is the intuition, and it is the inner thoughts, the gut feeling. I mentioned either we're focusing on the frustration part of resilience, or we're focusing on the hopeful part of resilience. So in these readings, consistently, it's two feminines. One's evil and dark and shows up as the Queen of Swords, which coincidentally is the brain, right? And then there's the Queen of Cups, who's like the nice, beautiful, Snow White energy, right? The very giving, nurturing, embracing type feminine. Right? And there's two feminines in this reading, and there's one masculine, and the masculine is like this God-sent feeling that I channel, right? It's like this masculine is just so sought after. What a King of Wands, you know? Like, sorry, I'm getting way into tarot here. But the goal here is the one masculine is your goals, your dreams, your end goal. That's why it shines so bright. The two feminines is the fight going on within you. And I think YouTube needs to hear this, because I needed to hear this too. I got way caught up in the tarot toxic karmic noise for a minute there, okay? And it was like, oh man, maybe I am in love with this man, and maybe he is attached to his nasty ex, because we all know somebody with a nasty ex, right? And sometimes that's the way. But having kids, and we're all grown, everybody's got kids, everybody's got exes, right? So it's easy to resonate with that, especially if you've had very powerful moments with that person and they have, you know, awakened a part of you you didn't think was even there, and this connection is so beautiful, da da da. But I think in terms of tarot, more than likely, these connections are actually two sides of you. Right? Where I really truly feel as though this masculine, though it could have been a really great experience and he did have a very toxic ex, does not necessarily mean that I have in my world this evil witch of a op, you know, the witch is very known in tarot. Everybody's talking about that. Like, oh, this op, this dark feminine is really just trying to get you, and they're doing all this spell work on you, and da 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 da. I'm like, what is the likelihood of that happening to literally everyone? Like, why is that all that we see on tarot land? Like, give me a break, you know? And it feels like that. It feels like two feminines in competition with each other for this masculine. What that means, I think, is the two sides of you, your gut feeling, like your intuition that's kind of stuck in shadow, that's stuck in non-moving energy, in the depths of hell, right? Like that's part of each of us. We're in resilience, which doesn't feel right, which doesn't feel comfortable. Okay? And then there's the female that is the aspect of us that's gut feeling feels the pull and the calling and the unwavering hope that this shitstorm is going to pay off and eventually we're going to make it, right? There's that feminine. And that always shows up as you in readings. That's your true essence, is this higher vibing female. And then this negative low vibing female is usually taken to be this op or this person's ex or whatever. Toxic mom, I've even heard, like, dude, people need to get out of the box of thinking, right? Release the mold, guys. Like, it's just so wild, because it makes sense to me that that darker feminine is the part of you stuck in frustration, yearning to be like your authentic self, right? Which is you going for your goals, believing in the dream, waking up and doing a live stream even though you didn't sleep the night before, that type of stuff. So tarot is spinning this feminine mirror that's happening, right? We call it the Great Smoky Mirror. I don't know why we're on this tangent. It didn't start out this way, but here we are, right? But it's because we're in this frustrating place of in between, right? And we're looking for these lifestyle nudges of telling us what it is that we can do. But I think collectively, specifically the feminine halves of each of us, are going through this weird fight with our higher selves. You know, this could look like making excuses. Okay, I didn't sleep last night. I woke up and I gave myself a bunch of food, and so I've got heartburn, you know, so I can't do this today. Or let's get on some real shit, okay? I went to do a reading for a client like 2 days ago, and my computer, when it was time to convert the reading into a file, just said cannot compute and shut off permanently. My other computer is dead, and that's the one I use for cameras, because as you can see, this is not ideal camera. And if you look at my recent readings on YouTube, not a decent camera. So I got a new phone, and I was like, great, I'm gonna get this new phone because my old one is so full of storage I can't even use the sucker anymore. So I got a new phone. And then my daughter somehow formatted 2 phones to herself, had to go get that sorted without having a phone to use. My laptop died, completely kaput, out of here. And this is happening right as I'm getting back in the groove. So it's really easy to feel like there's dark forces working against us spiritual teachers. Like, it's easy to do that. And then when you get on YouTube and you start seeing readings about dark forces working against you and people being in competition with you because you're the light and they're the dark, it's easy to give in to that narrative. But I really feel like there's a part of us that's just like ready for more. It's like we're ready for a boss level up level here, and we're blasting through glass ceilings, and all of the planets have aligned, all of the stars have aligned, you finally have the energy to do all this stuff. Things start to break down because you are elevating quicker than ever before. So if you feel comfortable posting, if you feel comfortable on stories, do that. And then let it be okay. I feel comfortable on live streams. Did they always work out? Clearly. You know, am I stumbling? Am I creating mistakes? Yeah, it's annoying and it drives me insane. But here I am and I'm doing it. And I feel that the right people are going to see it and I can edit it later, right? So it's like, what does that mean for you? When you are on stories, do you feel the most empowered? When you make a post that has like just the black background and you just write on it, does that make you feel safe and secure? And like, that's the whole point, is like we need to feel safe to post. And if live streams do not strike your fancy, then like don't do it. You know what I mean? What is your zone of genius and how do you want to present that to the world? all that we're doing is sharing our lifestyle to the ethers. It's just putting it online. And it doesn't have to be lifestyle like, here's my kids. I don't usually post about my kids because it freaks me out. That's just me because of my surroundings, right? Again, it's a reflection of your environment. We would be more likely to post, I feel, if we were already on the countryside and it was rolling green hills everywhere, and it would just be like so aligned with our end goal, and it would be wonderful. So in the past, have I gone to different farms and stood on the other side of the fence and took pictures of it and tried to take selfies of myself in their field? Yep, I did that. 100% I did that. Did it land? Not really. So again, it's about being where you are and focusing on your zone of genius and where you're frustrated now. Because again, where you're frustrated is where you're being resilient. So how can we share that process in a way that expresses where you've been, where you are, and where you're going? It expresses your personal story. That's your brand story. Your messaging is, this is who my ideal client is, and this is what I want them to go through. That's your brand message. I'm here to teach people this. This is what I bring people through. This is my process. That's your brand messaging. If you are continuing to show up from the perspective of, here's my personal story up till now, and here's where I'm going, and I'm not letting go of that hope of where it is I'm going and what it is I'm striving for until I truly get there. You know what I'm saying? Tapping into the hope rather than the frustration when it comes to posting. Okay, so like I have no problem coming through, and I don't think you should either, but like coming through and saying, this is frustrating. Like to me, the amount of people I feel that are holding themselves back because of the private jet girls is an epidemic. Okay, that's problematic for me. You know what I'm saying? That frustrates me, but that doesn't have to do with me and where I am now. If I say, these folded stools in the background and that pillow out of place, that's just too much. I'm very frustrated. And also, can we talk about that patch in the wall? I see it and it does drive me nuts, right? But if I got onto this live stream and I said, these damn stools, man, these stools are just such a problem. They're so in my way. I'm so upset with these stools. We don't want to only focus on the frustration, right? We want to get past the frustration, stop looking at the pillow, and we want to talk about the resilience, right? Could I have gotten up and moved all these things? Absolutely, but it's not that big of a deal. So that's another piece of it, is not allowing the obstacles to be such a giant deal that it stops us from saying the words, right? Or getting the brand message out there. Okay, so branding in itself, like marketing, it's the visual representation of your lifestyle as it is seen online. And when we talk about business branding, that's the lifestyle of your business. Okay, so a lot of us can resonate as solo entrepreneurs, right? Sole proprietors. Cool. So our lifestyle and our business lifestyle are the same. So my messaging for me as a human is, I don't like to sleep, okay, at night. I don't like to sleep at night. I also am a hot mess express every single time. This is the only way I do my hair. That's the only way you're going to see me. Sorry about it. I also really like animals. I have to put them in the garage because they're so all over the place all the time. I also have kids. They're my world. I love them. It's also like, holy shit, if I had them and it was my time for custody right now, I'd be leaving in 20 minutes to go get them. And I can't do that. I need to do this video, right? So I have like this chaotic thing around motherhood, but that's okay, right? So like that's my brand as it stands right now. But I'm also a channel. Okay, so now we have reached the Mindy branch and gone into the business branch. This is where my personal story becomes my brand story. Raised in Mormon culture, hated it. Wanted to branch out, get tattoos, and be a rebel. Cool, did that. Then was looking at different cultures, different theologies, different belief systems, loved it. Self-help books, yoga, chakras, Reiki, went that whole way, went that whole direction, just dove in deep, decided to talk about it, decided that I'm a coach, I want to help people through whatever it is that they're going through, right? This is where we get to niching down. Now it's like, I just want to help everybody get to wherever they want to go because I'm nice. Okay, that doesn't really work because it's too broad of a spectrum, right? So niching down is saying, I had these experiences in my personal life, and I remember what it felt like when I was in the oppressed religion, and I wanted to break free from that. How can I move that into what people need right now? Oh yeah, we're in a matrix, right? We're in this like Truman Show bullshit. So it's like, okay, my ideal client, I think, someone who I want to help, my ideal perfect client would be somebody who's stuck in chaos, struggle mindset, beats herself up every day, bro. And I'm here to help her to say, like, stop. I'll tell you more than just stop. I promise. Sorry. Stop. To stop and think, right? To stop and, like, see the bigger picture, to see the broader horizon, right? To tap into the peak potential and to be focused on the end goal. And so when we talk about this peak potential as well, it's something I talked about a lot all throughout my business, right? And that can be taken into the account of the not knowing versus knowing and the frustration and the resilience to get there, right? Your peak potential would be like you're just simply climbing up some stairs. It's like, I'm going that way, and so I'm just going to do it. In reality, it doesn't always look like that. It's chaos, it's struggle, it's mindset stuff. It's, am I worthy of this? Should I even get out of bed today? Are the kids going to want to see me on a holiday? Like, just weird mindset stuff, which I happen to gravitate towards moms because that's where I am and who I am, right? So I gravitate towards people who are going to resonate with me, and that's your ideal audience, right? Is who you resonate with, whether they buy from you or not. Ideal client is an actual client who buys from you. What are they going through right now? How can you speak directly to them, right? So that's some different vocabulary when it comes to branding and business. And so I'm hoping that that like answers your guys' questions. But coming back to the peak potential and like the lifestyle nudges, right, is like ideally peak potential would be like we're slowly but surely climbing up the stairs to get to where we want. That would be like we get the lifestyle nudges. So how do we get there to that point where things feel like we're in our peak potential? I keep looking up and I have my YouTube pulled up here. And at one point, I have a video that's called Spiraling Through the Shitstorm to Propel Yourself Upwards, Surrender. But the thumbnail that I chose for it is a girl with a gas mask on, and inside the gas mask is like all of these plants. And she has her eyes closed and looks very peaceful. So I was just asked, how do we get there? And I looked up and saw that in that moment. And it really comes down to, A, what are you feeding your body? And I tisk at that because I need to answer that for myself, right? Because it's really hard not to just go with what's easy and put into our body whatever it is that is around and is easy because we're tired. We don't want to cook, you know? And so there is that. Also, like, oxygen. I don't know why that's coming through, but with that oxygen mask, I really got that. It's like getting out into the country or getting out into the mountains and just like breathing a little bit, you know, especially being in a valley where I am. Like I live in a city that's a valley like so, and the inversion is just like, we've been top of the world a few times with the horrible air. And that's hard, you know, to feel okay when the air isn't right. So it's like, what air are you breathing? And that can also speak to, you know, your surroundings in general. Like, what do you surround yourself with energy-wise, and is that being helpful to you? how can you feed your energy, like go into the whole self-care stuff. And I know that this goes sort of far into the cliche, like just take care of yourself and everything will work out. What I'm saying instead is like, what is it that you're called to do is a no-brainer type offer. No-brainer is readings for me. That's just, I can always do a reading, right? I can always do a live stream. So when I'm getting back into the groove of things, that's what I'm going to do, right? And repurposing content too. Like, I record this on here, I'm goofy, I'm losing my mind, I'm just like, bleh. And then I go on YouTube and I'm like making it pretty and I'm putting it out there. And I'm doing readings on YouTube for all zodiac signs so that everybody has their own reading. And I hope to do that in a month. That's 12 readings in a month. It's not crazy hard for me to do that, right? What's crazy hard for me to do is to make a post on my public profile. Ask me why, I don't know. And that's where I was kind of excited to talk about the ridicule wound. So I'm kind of sad you guys didn't vote for that, but just kidding. But I'll keep putting votes out here, like the polls, to see what you guys want to talk about. Today ended up being the resilience and the persistence mindset. And, you know, at the end of the day, I just got really sick of, you know, when I worked with one-on-one clients and it came to branding, going back to branding, I really got sick of sending my clients somebody else's Instagram to see what I was talking about when I said a good Instagram. Does that make any sense? So I would be working with a client one-on-one, we're talking about branding, and I'm like, don't look at mine, it's trash. It's bad. Okay, it's really bad. It's just chaos, you know? And for a minute I was trying to do a grid system, and the grid system went out of style, and I was really not nailing it. Nailed it! No, I did not nail it. So, oh, that's worse. Anyway, so I was like finding Instagrams that I really enjoyed looking at, and then I would send those to my clients and be like, see, it's something like this. This is what I'm talking about when I say the grid system. This is what I mean when I say a good Instagram. I realized, like, I don't want to have to say my Instagram sucks anymore. I don't want to be in that. So eventually, I kind of just need to get it together. I say that all the time when I am working with clients or put on the to-do list, get it together. Write that in your million notebooks, bitch. Get it together. I'm still waiting to be able to put that check mark on. But you know what? I'm getting closer. And that's the mindset shift right there, you know? I can come out here with humor and I can say, you know, get it together, you dumb dummy, to myself, you know? And then I laugh and I say, but I am. You know, and that's the energy I want you guys to be in, is like, I want to do this and I want to do that, and I'm going to be hard on myself and I'm going to push myself and I'm going to be in this determination and this frustration and this resilience and being uncomfortable and it really sucks. Get it out and then say, but I'm doing it. And go with the hope and the prayer and the calling that says, I'm not going to stop. I heard it said that if you have a calling, a true calling on this planet, it will continue calling. It's not going to stop and leave you in the dust because you're frustrated today, right? You're frustrated because you are doing it. So stop. Do you like that? Hire me so I can tell you to stop it. So stop beating yourself up. Oh God, this is going to bother me now. Now I have to hop off here because my hair is driving me crazy. See how that works? Sometimes it's like the things that hold us back are actually super silly. Like I got on here last time and I was like, oh, I can't get on live today. I had 2 nails that weren't painted. We say these things to ourselves, okay? I want you guys to really think about the things that you say to talk yourself out of doing the things that need done. And that's another part of hiring a coach, is like, I did not realize how obsessed I was with like excuses, bro. I didn't sleep last night. I was gonna post a thing on here that said, sorry, live stream canceled, not doing it today. I'm too tired. And then I was like, what? Do you hear yourself? Like, girl, 5 hours is fine. Like, go back to bed after. You know what I mean? It's like the push, not in a way that like I'm gonna beat myself to a bloody pulp in order to make it happen, but once I get going, I don't want to stop. We've been on here for over an hour. I don't want to stop talking about what I'm talking about because it's so aligned, right? So it's like just get past that one push to get yourself to the camera or to the event if you do live stuff, you know? Like seminars and stuff, like library seminars. You know what I've been thinking about a lot, which again, I'm just going to keep on tangenting. Substitute teaching in the realm of like business. How cool would that be to go talk to high school kids about career paths and business and like trade schools versus college? How cool would that be? If they let you. I don't know if they just let you decide what to talk about. You know, like you have to put on the Bill Nye. Like, no, I want to tell them about climbing this ladder and what resilience truly feels like. You know, it's stuff like that, like high school kids, you know? And that's another thing too, is like being creative on the means of which your vehicle shows up for you. Like I said, I started with jewelry and then I went to furniture and then I went to home flipping, and yeah, that worked out, but it was terrible. Got back into business and now here I am. And is this live stream going to convert me 10 clients and get me to 10K? Girl, stop thinking like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, stop. It's not about a means to an end, right? It's just a vehicle that can get you there if you have the patience, the resilience, the persistence, and determination to get to that point. It's just a matter of showing up and speaking the words. And showing up with some personality too. Like, I don't edit out all of my ums and my icks. My icks. Some stuff like that is worth keeping because it's funny. So let yourself be that funny personality. Let yourself be the struggle hot mess mom. Like, I'm telling you, the 2 best YouTube videos I have on my channel is me in my car, Hot Mess Express, working 2 jobs at the time, middle of a flip house, trying to just be like, I want to do some cards right now because I feel like that would be better for me. But I hope this was helpful. I'm going to continue to have polls in the group on like, I don't know, Wednesday or Thursday. And then you guys can vote on what we talk about again. Let me just see if there's any comments. Thank you for tagging people too. I appreciate you guys. Yeah, if you feel like people would benefit from this, we are going to go live every single Friday. So I will be posting more. There is a 2025 general collective reading. And again, that one was like a feminine breaking free from the masculine. Very interesting dynamic I keep getting with YouTube. So if you guys wanted to watch that and try to do the perspective shift that I'm trying to do with it and say, okay, if this was me, the feminine, my gut feeling, my calling, versus the toxic masculine, the matrix, big brother, if you will, the GOV, all of that matrixy stuff, does that make sense? Because I'm really trying to get the tarot cards to stop talking about breakups. Like, I'm over it. Don't need to know about people's breakups no more, okay? Though it's very liberating, and that's the energy of the readings, is they're liberating. So yeah, the 2025 overview was about a breakup, and I was like, how does that make sense that it is for my entire collective? You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to be working on that a little bit more, and this is going on YouTube, so I'm going to be talking more on YouTube about the karmic feminine and the ideal masculine and the ideal feminine and the toxic masculine. It's like, you are here, this being, and there's like twin flame over here, and you're the twin flame counterpart. Then they have an ex that's a toxic feminine, and you have an ex that's a toxic masculine, and so there's like 4 or 5 different, like 2 archetypes that are toxic, which is both of y'all exes. And then you guys are the ideal feminine and the ideal, or what do they call it, divine feminine, divine masculine. And you guys are perfect in every way, but your exes are so toxic. Like, there's gotta be another way to read that. You know what I'm saying? So that's my new mission on YouTube. So I'm gonna go get to that because I've been on here for far too long. 117, which is my number. So I'm gonna go ahead and end it here. I love you guys so much. I will see you guys on the next one. Next week, make sure to vote. Let me know if you guys need anything. Comment or send me a DM. Love you guys.